I think we can say pretty surely that the major difference of 2008-9 and now is the geopolitical context. In 2008 and 9, the relations between the US and China were normal. The relations with Russia were not good, but they were also not in direct conflict, even war, as they are right now. And so the geopolitics did not overshadow the response to the crisis. Also, the crisis, it was pretty clear in 2008, had one overwhelming cause: bad policy in the United States. The US Treasury Secretary unbelievably and unaccountably decided one weekend that he would teach Wall Street a lesson by driving Lehman Brothers into bankruptcy. And frankly, he didn't know what he was doing and what was about to come, because by doing so, he unleashed a massive financial panic that began the following Monday. And he didn't even understand the mechanics of bankruptcy in the UK and the implications for interbank finance and the centrality of Lehman Brothers in that web. Well, without going into all the details, there was a disaster, and then there was an attempt to overcome the financial crisis. And President Obama came into office and took a multilateral view, and that worked reasonably well to put a floor to a very deep crisis. Everything changed during the past 14 years. It's very interesting to ask why. You get two completely different narratives of why. If you listen to the mainstream US government story, it's because Russia was an aggressor starting in 2014 and then especially in 2022, and China became an aggressor too, with a major military expansion and threatening countries in the South China Sea. If you take a different perspective, which I find more accurate, it is that the United States played an extraordinarily unhelpful and provocative role, because in my view, the United States got very nervous about China's success starting around 2014 and deliberately started to try a containment policy of China. I remember when that first struck me that that was their real new policy, I thought it was mind-boggling. I thought it was absolutely incredible that the United States thought that it could contain China. And I thought Donald Trump was an absolutely horrible president anyway, so I thought he would do all sorts of unpredictable things. But the truth is that not only did he start this anti-China policy, but Biden has exactly contributed and continued it, even intensified it. It's a deep US state policy. It's not due to a particular politician. It's actually the permanent state which says China's a threat. We must stop it. And when it comes to Russia, I think the balance of accounts is far more complicated than the US allows for, because the US approach has been to expand NATO to Georgia and Ukraine. And I often ask my, well, I don't know if I have friends in the US government anymore, but my colleagues in the US government, I ask them, what would happen if Mexico decided that it would enter a military alliance with China? Would the United States say, yeah, that's not our business, that's whatever Mexico wants to do? Well, we have a kind of hint about that, because when Cuba tried that in 1960, we invaded Cuba right away, and then went to Cuban Missile Crisis. We wouldn't like it. But when we say, well, we're going to have a military alliance with Ukraine, and Russia says, don't do that, that's our core security interest, we say, what's the problem? We're peace-loving. Don't get so upset. It's all fine. And we're going to go to Georgia, by the way, so you know, if you look at your Black Sea fleet in Sevastopol, do note that it will be surrounded by Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Georgia. But don't worry, we love peace. We love you. We don't have anything against you. And so this is the mindset of the United States, in my mind, that is so provocative that I don't know whether they don't want to, can't, or are playing a game and pretend that they don't think about the perspective from the other side. But all of this is to say the big change of context in the last 10 years is geopolitical. We lost the basic cooperative framework. And Biden defines the world crisis as a crisis of democracies versus autocracies. When he said that, I put my head in my hands because he's defining the world crisis as division. Those divisions are not going to go away anytime soon. So what he's basically telling us is we're going to have a divided world for years to come, maybe a dangerously divided world. But nobody talked in those terms 10 years ago or 12 years ago. But those are the normal terms to talk right now. And I really bemoan that fact. I guess partly because I'm an economist, and economists really do like open trade. I believe in open trade. I believe in a world that is interconnected. I believe that China's rise was a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing for China, but good for all the rest of us too. So I don't view it in negative terms. But if you are a military strategist, you view it in zero-sum terms, that their rise must be bad for us. I just can't accept that logic.
Professors, I am a great admirer of your work on climate change and sustainability. So I changed the focus of my question. As you know, key institutions like United Nations, G20, FSB are promoting substantial emission reduction measures involving strong commitments by advanced and also developing countries that start reducing emission at different rates. As you know, most analysts use something like the environmental causeness curve hypothesis and link the level of development and the